It's the GTN Show, welcome.
Yeah, we've got a packed one this week with athletes announcing their race schedules, their training and some of the testing they're getting up to. In particular, we're going to take a look at Christian Blumenfeld and the team pushing science yet again.
Yeah, and another Olympic champion, Flora Duffy, has been named on Sports Illustrated list of fittest women. We've got the world's coldest marathon and some more new events, including the first ever 70.3 in Rwanda and dates and locations for the first ever World Championship Series.
First up, let's take a look at some of the things that we've spotted on social media this past week. And I do apologise in advance, it's quite Norwegian heavy this week.
They've been busy, haven't they, on social?
They have indeed. So well, first off, they've been posing underwater, or are they?
Yeah, I must admit this one, kind of Mark had to point out that they're wearing wetsuits, so they probably wouldn't be underwater. But I bought it when I first saw it. I thought, wow, like they just stood there casually under the water holding their breath. Yeah,
I mean, it wouldn't be doing the advertising for that wetsuit any good, would it, if they were quite happily just stood on the bottom?
No, yeah, you pointed that one out, yeah. It's still a cool photo though. Cool.
Yeah, very cool. So they're obviously announcing a partnership with De Boer, with the three of them, with Casper, Christian and Gustav, so very cool. Jan Frodeno is also posting about training in the cold. He's back on the track for the first time this season and it's very brisk and cold.
Yeah, I thought, it didn't get that cold in Girona. To see actual ice down there, I'm like, oh, it's not just us that have to battle through the ice. So good work, Jan. He's making some point about the winter miles and the summer smiles, which is very true, isn't it?
Yeah. Also spotted that Nicola Spirig is doing some testing, but she's left us hanging, really, to be honest. She's just kind of put out there very simple, literally, the caption is testing. But yeah, I mean, full on, she's got kind of what looks like almost like the VO2 Max Master masks on. But yeah, doing some real life, like out on the track testing with a mask on.
I wonder if she's just been, getting some inspo from the Norwegians, most probably, seeing some of that testing that's going on, which we're talking about in a moment. We're skipping ahead, but back to Norwegians first, because there's an interesting post here by Gustav Eden, who's basically taking the mick out of Christian's aero bars. Now take a look at these. They do seem quite the extreme angle. Pretty
outrageous. I mean, hard not to take the mick out of them. That is quite something. I mean, surely that comes right above the head. That's more than praying mantis. That is. I mean, do you have to look through your hands like this? I mean,
I can't wait to actually see him in his position, because I think last week we saw that he'd been doing loads of testing and working on his position.
Well, yeah. I mean, sub-7, taking it seriously.
Yeah.
But also we've got Sam Long announcing his race schedule. Obviously he cancelled Christmas and he's very serious about this season, and he's announced that he's going to be taking part in Clash Miami and Challenge Puerto Varas back to back, as well as obviously taking part in, I mean the guy's not just taking part, he's really going for it.
Rolling along.
At St George for the Ironman World Championships.
Yeah, it's cool to see those races. Well, one of his main competitors or rivals, I imagine, at St George, Lionel Sanders, has been busy on social, busy training along with Phil Guyman, the pro cyclist. And you might remember it was a couple of years ago, wasn't it, when they had that battle, the virtual battle on Mount Lemon. And now it seems like they're actually teaming up, which is quite cool.
Yeah, so Phil actually head out to Tucson and said, yes, it is home to Mount Lemon, but he's not coming to contend with Lionel. They actually came to train together and they put videos out on both of their channels, but Phil actually did a triathlon and did a bit of swim, bike, run. But also, I mean, just, credit to Phil and Lionel. I mean, Phil rode with Lionel and said it was outrageous, the power that he's putting out. A lot of pro cyclists couldn't do the kind of intervals and sessions that he was doing. He did like 7 by 10 minutes at threshold with just like 2-minute recoveries, which is pretty meaty. So yeah, very, very impressive. Worth a watch. I haven't watched all their videos yet, but there's a few there to watch. Also, we thought we'd have a little, check-in and update with Nathan Ford. Now, Nathan Ford is a British triathlete who unfortunately had a very, very bad crash just last year. So I think it was in the British Middle Distance Championships up in Scotland. Unfortunately, it left him paralysed and hospitalised 500 miles from home, to the point that, I mean, it was so bad that he couldn't actually come home. So he's been stuck in a hospital.
I think initially his family were told to get up there because they didn't think he was even going to survive.
Yeah.
So, and they had thought it was a brain injury and a spinal cord injury, and they drained his brain. Turned out, thankfully, it wasn't a brain injury. And I think I've just listened to the podcast, and he was talking about how actually it's such relief, his personality, he's still the same person, and it's now this massive rehab kind of journey. So when he initially could move just his big toe, and that was it. And he's now got to the stage, from what I gather, able to use his left side and partially use his right side, which if you think just thinking you're going to be immobilised the rest of your life is incredible steps. But he's got a target of a long journey ahead of him.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been interested in his progress, so we thought we'd update. He also had to have the halo that we saw, Tim Don famously wear. It sounds like he's now out of that, from what I understand.
He's now got a brace, so he's out of the halo, but he's got the wound, so he can't yet do anything, like he can't get in the hydro pool, but he's now got a brace that's, I think, his whole torso. So that's coming off fairly soon, and apparently once that comes off, the physios think his rehab will be able to speed up because he's going to get in the hydro pool, and that will hopefully really just improve things quite quickly.
And crucially, he's also back home now, which is nice.
Back in Cardiff, I think it is.
Yeah, but, brilliant. Well, I mean, as we've said before, we're wishing Nathan all the best with the recovery, and we will keep you guys updated. Also, another athlete that had quite a scare last year, and that was Tim O'Donnell. He had a heart condition. It surprised him during the race. It's what's called the Widowmaker.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite horrific. It was in Challenge Miami, and he didn't even manage to still finish the race and knew something wasn't right, but pushed through it and went downhill rather fast and ended up in hospital. And I think all of the consultants were amazed that he'd managed to do that. So, and he's come out the other side, which is incredible. No one was really sure if he'd be back to racing, but he has announced his first race back, and it's quite fun to see that he's actually going to be racing alongside his wife, Grainy, and they're doing the couples competition. So I think that's quite a nice light-hearted event to sort of start back again. And
I mean, you say light-hearted. I mean, the field is
true. I mean,
monstrous.
Not by the field. I'm not dissing the field.
No, it should be really cool to watch him there, so really pleased to see him back and wanting to get on a start line again.
Yeah. On to tri news now, and this has kind of been all over the triathlon news. The World Triathlon have teamed up or signed an agreement along with the International Testing Agency, the ITA, who were developed back in 2018 by the IOC to enable federations to have an independent anti-doping program, basically. So the ITA are going to work with World Triathlon. They're going to take on the in-competition, the out-competition testing, including analysing biological passports, and basically trying to make doping a thing of the past in triathlon and make it as much of a independent process. And it's actually triathlon's the 19th sport or Olympic sport to join onto this sort of program. So it's great to see that loads of other sports are doing it, but it's probably about time that triathlon joined up as well. So hopefully we'll see more and more kind of ironed out in a cleaner sport.
Yeah, brilliant. Great news. Moving on, as I said earlier on, there's rarely a week that we don't talk about the Norwegian triathlon team, and this week's no different, and for a good reason, because, well, we already know that the Norwegian triathlon team are at the forefront of science within triathlon, but Christian Blumenfeld, the Olympic champion, has explained to the New York Times exactly what that entails, including a $2,000 bottle of water infused with oxygen isotopes. Pretty fancy. The article likens the Norwegian team to the Oakland A's with the Moneyball approach. It even spoke to Jan Frodeno's coach, Dan Lorang, who says they're changing the minds of a lot of people, even if nobody knows exactly how they're doing it. Everyone now sees science seems to have a big impact on performance.
Well, as I expect many of you are already aware, Christian Blumenfeld and the Norwegian team have been working alongside Alexander Boo, who comes from an engineering background. Now, he's been working with the team since 2016. He shadowed them out at the Rio Olympics and was just observing triathlon as a whole and noting that it hadn't advanced that quickly, other than making bicycles sort of faster and lighter. The science and the sports testing for the athletes, maybe not so much. So he's gone really, we've seen evidence of it coming out from all the testing that they're doing. For example, he's used 20 sensors, strapping them to the Christian Blumenfeld and taking lots of measurements, pricking their ears, taking lactic measures multiple times during sessions, because obviously that's been used for a long time in sport, but now even teaching the athletes to do it themselves so they can do it more readily. He's had a VO2 mask, which has actually allowed him to collect carbon isotopes, determining the source of carbohydrates. Apparently, this can determine whether those carbohydrates are coming from the glycogen stores or whether it's coming from the gel that's just being consumed, which is a bit mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I didn't even know this was a thing.
No.
Also, as I mentioned earlier, he has had Christian drinking a $2,000 bottle of water infused with oxygen isotopes that can be collected in urine samples and analysed to gauge his overall oxygen efficiency. I mean, you'd hope it tastes nice for $2,000. He says he's also been known to collect stool samples to better understand Christian's ability to metabolize carbohydrates, and part of that involves burning those stool samples. I mean, the article goes on, and I'm probably sure there's quite a few of you out there who are dying to read it. So yeah, go check out the New York Times article. Without a shadow of doubt, they are pushing things to the next level, aren't they? Moving on, we have the world's coldest marathon. This weekend, Vasily Lukin won the world's coldest marathon on record, a shuddering minus 53 degrees Celsius. Had 65 athletes from all over the world that came to Oymakoyan, I think, Yakutuya's Pole of Cloud in Siberia to take part. It was Vasily that took his second win there, having, done it once before, but this was clearly the coldest that they've ever had it, minus 53 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. And a time of 3 hours and 22 minutes. I mean, I mean, the fact he's gone back there for the second time, that's what baffles me the most, because, you might go there thinking, it can't be that bad. And then to go back, you really are mad.
Well, he is actually local to the event, so that's quite cool.
Oh,
but of those 65 athletes, they came from all over the world. So
I don't think we're going to see our co-presenter James signing up for that one anytime soon, are we? Right, Mark, I've got a question.
Oh, yeah?
If you take athletes across all the different sports, what sport, and more importantly, what athlete would you think is the fittest? The fittest. I mean, how do you describe fittest?
I'm going to struggle to pick out an individual athlete, but I'd probably go something like rowing, cycling, swimming, triathlon, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you're keeping it broad there. I would also say maybe cross-country skiing. I think that's one that always gets labelled, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Sports Illustrated have their work cut out because they've done it. They've come up with the list of the 25 fittest men and women.
Oh, bold.
And not just sports, that is actual people. And they've apparently judged this on several things, performance over the last 12 months, the risks and demands of their respective sport, durability, the training, and then other things such as power, speed, strength, agility, endurance, flexibility.
How do you judge flexibility?
Yeah, I don't think triathletes are going to do very well on flexibility, are they? But they also, they have an expert panel of exercise physiologists and personal trainers and people who do have an idea, but still, it's so subjective, isn't it? But the reason we're talking about this is Flora Duffy has been ranked 11th on this list.
Good to see her on there, but why? I would have thought she might have been higher.
Yeah, I mean, it's so subjective. You've got actually on, I think the top place went to a CrossFitter, which could be controversial. Some people will understand that. We had an MMA fighter in 4th. I know there was a downhill skier was in the top 10. I had a look through the list earlier and trying to remember what other sports. I think it was an ice skater, like speed skater. The endurance of that. I think it was an endurance one. But yeah, a real mix of sports and how you're kind of judging it. There was a track cyclist. There's a lot of athletes as well.
All right,
it's a tough call, isn't it? I mean, the fact that we've got a triathlete on the list, I think we should just celebrate it.
Yeah, awesome. We have spoken a lot here on the channel about the PTO tour that is coming very soon this year. And they've just opened up the entries for the age group races. So just to recap, we have the inaugural PTO Canadian Open on the 23rd to the 24th of July in Edmonton, Canada. We once again have the Collins Cup, which will be taking place in Samorin, Slovakia on the 20th to the 21st of August. And just announced, they've locked in and secured the location for this one, the inaugural stateside PTO USA Open, which is going to be taking place in the city of Irving, Texas on the 17th to the 18th of September. They've got a range of distances to choose from. The shortest on the triathlon format is a 25k event, so that's a 500 meter swim, 20k bike, 4.5k run, and then they've got the 100k, the longer distance, which is a 2k swim, 80k bike, and then an 18k run. And yeah, it's open to you guys to enter now. You can refer to the PTO website for exact pricing, but to give you a bit of a gauge, the 25k events start at 155 Canadian dollars through to 399 Canadian dollars for the 100k events. And I believe it's slightly cheaper for the Collins Cup event. Why? I'm not too sure, but maybe it's because they previously established and have the event there. But yeah, go take a look and get involved.
We have a giveaway now, and you might have seen our video a few days ago on artificial intelligence in triathlon and the future of coaching. Well, the app Humango AI are behind that, and they are devising, well, there's a program devised for you personally. You put in your details, you update your training, and it adapts your program as you go, and it takes into account normal life issues that get in the way. Rather than giving you sort of a red mark if you've missed a training session, it'll listen to why you've missed that session and adapt your future ones. You can put your race goals in, and basically it's your own coach on an app on your phone, and they are having a giveaway for you guys. We've got 3 of these annual subscriptions up for grabs for you and a friend, I believe.
Yeah, we've been playing around with this actually, and yeah, it's amazing how it works. I mean, it just jumps in and will shunt sessions forward, change them for you because you missed them. In my case, I've missed quite a few, and it's made subsequent sessions a lot easier for me because I'm clearly not getting any fitter. But it's really interesting. I mean, like,
and it takes away that sort of guilt feeling, doesn't it? Of like, oh, you've missed a session, you try and do it the next day, and then it's like that knock-on effect. Whereas instead, it just goes, hang on a minute. You know, life sometimes does get in the way, and you know, we do triathlon for fun, and it helps you adapt that around, you know, your everyday life. So I would recommend going and checking it out, but also entering the competition. The link is in the description below. You just need to follow that, and good luck.
Right, now for the race news, and we do actually have some race results this week, which is very exciting. We have the Tauranga Half over in New Zealand. In fact, Hayden Wild was meant to be racing in this and unfortunately pulled out just before. Not because he's injured or ill or anything. He actually put up a post on Instagram saying, yeah, I just don't want to do it. I'm just not feeling ready for it.
I'm not surprised. He had such a big year last year, didn't he? It was just carried on and on that season.
Yeah, I mean, he was quick to say, I'm still fit, I'm in good shape, but I just don't feel up for this, which is fair. I mean, he's got a big season ahead of him as well. But it was won by Braden Curry quite comfortably as well, by over 3 minutes. The second went to Jack Moody and a third to Sam Osborne.
Well, on the women's side, that was won by Rebecca Clark with a margin of 5 minutes in actual fact. Second place, Simone Ackerman from South Africa. It was her debut performance at a 70.3, she having competed in Tokyo. And then third place went to Deb Fuller.
Yeah, we also have the Super League Arena Games dates announced. Obviously, this is going to be the World Championship Series, the esports series this year. So they've locked in their host city location. So on 9th of April, it's going to be in Munich, Germany. And on the 23rd of April, it's going to be back in London at the London Aquatic Centre. And then on the 7th of May, we're going to be going over to Singapore for the grand final. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's exciting. I think that calendar has caused quite a few comments, I guess, from the ITU world, because I think it's just before the WTS race starts, so they've tried to get it in there. But it's going to be interesting to see which athletes want to prioritise that, and it's a very different racing format, and then how it's going to slot in with the rest. And I think, yes, the grand final also clashes with the world champs, the Ironman world champs. So,
yes,
I mean, I can't think of many people, but Lucy Charles does spring to mind because she's obviously done quite well in the Arena Games, but I imagine is going to have to forget about that.
I mean, I know obviously they've chosen that date in Singapore because they're trying to line up the WTS calendar and limit the amount of travel for the athletes. But as you say, I mean,
I think a week later they're actually off to Tokyo.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So, I mean, you're going to struggle to please everyone with a calendar like you do in triathlon.
And we're seeing more and more races, aren't we? So it's only, well, talking of more and more races, Ironman have just announced another event, which I know does sound like it keeps happening, but this one has caught our eye because it's in Rwanda. They're having a 70.3, and it's the first Ironman branded race and first big triathlon, as far as we know, in that country. And obviously, Africa hasn't had that many events in the past. We've seen South Africa's well established, and then we've got Egypt and Morocco. But it's quite exciting to see a completely different nation getting involved in hopefully growing triathlon.
Yeah, absolutely. They still haven't published a definite course or finalised it from what we understand. But I have seen some of the photos and videos they put up of the location and kind of teasing us, and it looks amazing. The race, though, is apparently going to take place on the 14th of August. So yeah, take a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rwanda is really pushing its sport, and they've got the Cycling World Championships in 2025. So it's obviously a country that's aware that it wants to get itself on the map, and it's really cool to see triathlon could be heading there too.
Okay, now it's time to take a look at some of the photos that you guys have sent in to us. Don't forget, you can send in your own photos, pain caves, group rides, swims, whatever you like, using that photo uploader link on screen right now, or you can find it in the description just down below. But let's take a look at some of these photos then. So first, from Klaus Udo from Brazil, they're saying, outdoor season at its finest. They're enjoying the Brazilian summer, doing a long 150k ride with some of the triathletes from the Academia Olympica, and they're being led by the Brazilian professional triathletes Louis Ode and Christian Fernandez, and there's quite a train going on there.
It's almost a peloton they've got, and look at the road, it just looks so dry and clear, and maybe this is just me talking about having spent a winter in the UK, but that does look delightful.
Does look good. Moving on, we've got a photo from Gary from Laguna in the Philippines. It says, since there are still no organised races here in the Philippines, me, my wife, niece and nephews decided to organise our own duathlon. We even had our very own shirts printed. We just lapped around the village, and our transition area is at my sister's front of my sister's house. We missed joining races, and we're hoping we can be able to join some soon.
Oh, we hope so too, yeah. And it's a great idea to do your own. Looks like it was a mountain biking triathlon as well, so fingers crossed you guys won't be waiting too long. I know everywhere's starting to open up again, and it feels sort of slightly hopeful, so yeah, great stuff.
Final one from Nicholas, and this one's coming from Minnesota. Nice and casual morning jog in minus 17 degrees Fahrenheit wind chill, with his ski goggles, PPE on, hat on and everything.
It is great sort of double use of your PPE, isn't it? I mean, that's one way to stay safe whilst you're out running, but probably kind of keep your throat slightly protected.
I mean, I'm not that clued up on Fahrenheit, but for anyone that works by Celsius, that is around minus 27, minus 28 degrees Celsius, which is pretty cold.
It's with the wind chill, but still, I mean, I can't comprehend that at all. I wouldn't be going out for a run, so I just say massive hats off, Nicholas. Great work.
Yeah, as I said at the start, send in your photos, videos, using that photo uploader.
Right, it's caption competition time, and last week we had this photo of James standing on poolside, and James isn't here, so we get to choose the captions. Our runner-up comes from Tune 85, when there is no one there to hear the excuses.
Next one from Cody Musa. This is not how I envisaged retirement.
And the final runner-up comes from Just John P. He says, what's the bet? The water back home is warmer than a UK pool. And yes, James does complain about the cold swimming pools. I mean, so do I, but...
I think he just complains about the temperature generally, daily. Yeah. But the winner is Bernadette Newhofer, and when you didn't get the memo that 7 a.m. swim training is cancelled and wonder why nobody is there.
Oh, if anyone's ever been in that situation, you will get that. You will feel that pain.
I've definitely been there before. But yeah, Bernadette, you are the winner. Get in touch and we'll send a swim cap out to you very shortly. But this week's caption comp photo is Andy Potts at the Ironman World Championships, I think from 2017, pulling a bit of expression as he crossed the line. So do your best, leave your captions in the comments section down below, but that is it.
Is he halfway through the Macarena?
Oh, maybe, that's a good one.
Which I don't know it well enough.
Well, yeah, do your best, as I say, in the comment section down below. That's it for the show this week, but we do have some very exciting stuff coming up on the channel, including a duathlon challenge between Heather and Manon from GTN.
Oh yes, I can't wait to watch that. I mean, I can't wait to do it. It's gonna be a tough one, I think. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. Don't forget, you can check out the GTN shop. I mean, we're matching this week, but there's plenty of other colours of jumpers and t-shirts on there. The link is on screen. If you've enjoyed this, give it a like, and remember to hit that globe and subscribe. And if you want something to watch now, that video we mentioned earlier about the future of triathlon with artificial intelligence, we've got a video on that right now. And also, if you're training for your first marathon, or you've entered your first marathon and you haven't yet started training, now is the time to do so, and there's a video to help you do it.